Hey there. Welcome to the Daily Tier List, the only YouTube show where somebody attempts to rank something every single day. My name's Grant. You can call me G or whatever, really. But today is the first edition of this show, and I decided there would be no better way to start than to talk about one of my favorite things on the planet, the NFL. So, without any further ado, we're going to get right into it and we're going to get started. I just want to do a very quick breakdown of how this tier list is going to work. We're going to start with S tier up top, and those are going to be teams that I view as the most likely Super Bowl winners coming up. A tier is going to be teams that I think could win the Super Bowl if everything goes well for them this year. B tier is going to be the ranking of teams that I think could win the Super Bowl if everything goes absolutely perfectly. Teams with a very fine margin, but I do think have the potential to do so. C tier are teams that I feel just are kind of around league average. Um, could be tough games for you some weeks, but for the most part, these are teams that are going to be drafted in the middle, teams that are going to miss the playoffs, but not be awful. And then D tier is going to be reserved for the worst of the worst, the bums of the NFL. All right, and we're going to get started. We're going to go alphabetical order here with the Arizona Cardinals coming first. The Cardinals are an easy pick for me. I'm going to put them C tier. I think they're a team that if everything goes well, everything goes right, they'll be in the playoffs maybe. But like the ceiling for them this year, the absolute ceiling, I think would be a playoff win, and I don't think it's going to happen. They're in a very tough division. Next, we're going to have the Atlanta Falcons. Once again, gonna have to put them in C tier. I think they're going to be an okay team. I like Penix. I like Bijan. I just don't envision a Super Bowl as possible. Another team where I think you win a playoff game and your fan base is going to be ecstatic. The Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to put them in A tier. Their main crime here for me is that they're not the Philadelphia Eagles, but they're a team that if everything goes well, they'll win the Super Bowl, right? Well, I shouldn't say they will win the Super Bowl, but they have tons of potential to do so. And let's face it, Lamar Jackson every year is going to give you an MVP level output. So the Ravens have to be in the A tier, I think. Bills are going to follow suit. I'm putting the Bills in A tier as well. They have kind of the same outlook, right? You have an MVP level quarterback who's always going to be one of the best players on the field when he's out there, always gives you a better chance to win, and they have a great team overall with a good head coach. Got to stick with A tier though, because once again, you're not the Eagles. All right, I'm gonna go with the Carolina Panthers, another team that I mean, you got to go C tier. I don't think they're bad. I think Bryce Young showed a ton of improvement at the end of the season last year, but at the end of the day, they're just another team that them winning a Super Bowl would blow everyone's minds, right? I have more faith in myself winning the Power Bowl. The Power Bowl. I'm leaving that in. It's episode one. We're flubbing. But yeah, I don't see the Panthers' best case scenario being anything other than once again a playoff win. The Chicago Bears. This is where my bias shows. I am wearing a Green Bay Packers shirt, obviously. So where do I put the Bears? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think this team is a C tier team. Yeah, they're not going to be bad. I don't think they're a team that probably wins around 8 games this year, maybe 12 if everything goes according to plan. But just them winning the Super Bowl, they're just not there yet. I think someone like Caleb Williams, if he's able to get you to the playoffs, for him to win the Super Bowl the first time isn't going to happen unless you have like a top three defense or so. Going to move on to the Bengals, who they're the first B tier team, right? So we all know the downside with the Bengals is that their best defensive player might not be on the team by the time the year starts. If they don't have Trey Hendrickson, they're not in B tier. If they don't have Trey Hendrickson, they're firmly in C tier. Going with the thought that maybe they keep Trey Hendrickson and Joe Burrow plays as well as he does, having Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, like that team could beat anyone in the league on the right day. I mean, that's a certainty. But once again, this is all contingent on Trey, but they're the first B tier team. Everything goes perfect. The Bengals win their first Super Bowl. The Browns. So, in the name of honesty, we could just throw them in D tier because they're the Browns and they're probably not going to do anything too impressive. But I love Joe Flacco. I think Shador has potential. Um, Miles Garrett's a absolute freak, one of the best defensive players of a generation. So I got to put him in C. Another team they have a good head coach. If everything goes right for them this year, they could be in the playoffs and they could maybe win a playoff game. But we know they're not winning the Super Bowl. If the Browns win the Super Bowl, I give you my permission to steal my identity. Okay. All right, we're going with the Cowboys. The Cowboys are a team, and this is where maybe this is a little hot takey, right? I'm putting them B tier, and hear me out. I'm aware that Schottenheimer probably isn't a good head coach. I'm aware of it. And, maybe I've spent too much time watching influencers like Vach Lombardi. I said your name wrong. It's Vach. I'm sorry, dude. Regardless, I got to stick with B tier because they have Dak Prescott, who's a very good quarterback. You add Pickens to that offense. That offense could be just insanely explosive. We're talking about a potential top 5 unit in the NFL. That you still have Micah Parsons on the other side. You still have some playmakers in the secondary. Perfect season for Dallas. They could win the Super Bowl, I think. I know that sounds crazy to some people, but I think they have that potential. Now, with that said, they probably win like 10 games, maybe get a 7 or 6 seed and get bounced out the playoffs. But they're like the Bengals, man. There's that chance. There's that glimmer of hope. Next, we're going with the Broncos. They got to say it. Another B tier team, only because they were in the playoffs last year. Bo Nix was just way better than anyone expected. Unless you're a Broncos homer or an Oregon homer, you didn't think Bo Nix was going to be good, let alone out the gate pretty damn good. If that wasn't a year with Jaden Daniels, we would be even higher on the kid, I think. So ultimately, assuming that his development will continue and that we're not going to watch him regress too much at least, the Broncos are a team with everything goes perfectly Super Bowl. But realistically, once again, you're probably hoping just to get in the playoffs and have a nice showing. The Detroit Lions, man, I'm going to sound like a hater, but you guys are B tier this year, and here's why. Coming off of 15 wins, you still have this offense that is just absolutely loaded with talent. I know Ragnall's gone, but we've seen teams in the past, like the Eagles last year, immediately replace an all-pro level offensive lineman and win a Super Bowl. But for the Lions, I have to knock them out of A tier or potentially S tier because losing both of your coordinators just tends to set you back in a way that it's hard to envision having the same success as the year prior. And this is a team that when they got to the playoffs last year, just laid an absolute dud. Like the offense came to play somewhat, but they just did not have that same consistency they had throughout the year on that day. So yeah, I'm sticking them B tier. They could win the Super Bowl. I think they have a chance. If you're in B tier or above, you should be excited about this season. Even some of the C tier teams. If you're in D tier, you should probably just skip the year completely. But now we are on the Green Bay Packers, my team. I'm wearing the shirt, so obviously they're going in S tier. No, that's not true. They're going A tier though. All right, so hear me out, right? Hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. That is the phrase of the video. Jordan Love played last year injured, for a good chunk of it, missed some time. They're a team that kind of limped into the playoffs that anyone who's a fan of the team could tell you we did not have any optimism going into that Philly game. As soon as that playoff game starts and you fumble the opening kickoff, we knew it was over. I was sitting there hoping, and then the receivers start dropping like flies. This is a team that what you saw in the playoffs last year was not even close to representative of what they could be. And we're talking about a team with rookies like Edgerrin Cooper last year that was already phenomenal, right? If he could take the next step and become even better, we're talking about a potential Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And I know that sounds crazy to some people, but if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But if I'm right, you better apologize. Okay. On top of that, the Matthew Golden draft pick. This is an offense that lacked speed. They really did. Other than Christian Watson, they struggled to find separation in the receiving core. I should say Dontavian Wicks was pretty good at that, but he also dropped like every other pass that came his way last year. So that really set us back somewhat. Am I biased? Yes. Do I love the Packers more than you? Probably. But I think this is firmly an A tier team based on the trajectory of past years. That this isn't like, oh, we need the perfect season. No, they just need to have improvements on what they've done in the past. This team is, I think, a viable contender, should be in the top 8. I'm regretting the Lions pick a little bit now that the Packers are in A tier, but look, what's done is done. We have to accept it and move on in our lives. Okay, the Houston Texans. This is another B tier team. I'm more down on them than most. I'll be honest. I love the Christian Kirk pickup. I think CJ Stroud's obviously a great quarterback, but I don't look at the sum of that entire team and walk away thinking that they're as much a contender as someone like Baltimore or the Bills are. And I'm not a Texans fan, so I don't have the bias at play here. Once again, perfect scenario, they end up hoisting the Super Bowl trophy and they win it. But we will see. The Colts, our first entry into D tier. I could sit here all day long and try to justify this pick. Instead, I would just say one thing and one thing only. Your quarterback is probably Daniel Jones. The Jaguars, firm C tier. So this is the first C tier that something in my brain wanted to flirt with B tier. And I know that's the craziest thing I've said yet because Trevor Lawrence has disappointed so far. That's really the only way you could define his tenure so far here in the NFL. But the pick of Brian Thomas Jr. last year and how good he was immediately, and you add in the fact that you have Travis Hunter joining that team, I probably think they're the best team in C tier right now, other than the Bears. But yeah, firmly in C tier. They would be very happy with a playoff win. The Chiefs, I'm not going to bullshit you. They have Patrick Mahomes. They have Andy Reid. They have Chris Jones. That's an S tier team. That's a threat to win the Super Bowl every single year they have that core together. The Chargers, the underachievers of the NFL. I'm going to put you in B tier only because I do think Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in the NFL. Chargers Harbaugh, obviously, here. Herbert. Herbert's a guy that I think is surely a top 10 quarterback, but I feel like he's just like near the bottom of that, which means he's more than good enough to win you a Super Bowl. But they're a team that I think you need the perfect conditions. If you're still going to start to see, I'm a big believer in the B tier. I'm a big believer that in the NFL, if things go perfectly, you could probably win the Super Bowl, unless you're the Browns. The Rams, I'm putting the Rams in A tier, man. I don't think many people quite understand just Cooper Kupp wasn't Cooper Kupp last year. His numbers are still pretty good. He's still an above average receiver, but this is a guy that went from being the best receiver in the NFL roughly 4 years ago to now he's aged a little bit and he's not the guy he was. You replace him with Devontae Adams, who was still a stud last year, man. That offense is going to be a problem for any team they face. And you have to factor in, you got Jared Verse and Cam Kitchens on defense. These are two young guys whose development should take them to a higher level of play. The Rams are a team you absolutely do not want to face in the playoffs. And we have to remember, nobody put up a better fight against the Eagles last season than the Rams did. And they did it in Philly. Moving on to the Raiders. This is a tough one because I kind of wish there was a C plus tier. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think they're going to be a playoff team. They've drafted okay the last couple years. Brock Bowers might already be the best tight end in the NFL. Geno Smith he is such an upgrade over Gardner Minshew and shitty ass Jimmy G. Like, I'm putting them in C because Super Bowl just feels asinine, but they're the top of the C tier. That's probably the only time I'm going to differentiate anyone in the tiers, but C plus for the Raiders. So the Miami Dolphins, right, coming up here, just trade Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith to the Steelers, but you get Minkah Fitzpatrick back. And there is a chance that Minkah Fitzpatrick makes more of an impact on Miami than those other two guys would have. So while I think most people are down on Miami because of Tua's health concerns, and let's face it, we've all heard them talk about Mike McDaniel being on the hot seat. So they're not a team we should have much faith in. But this is the first time I'm going to say fuck it, and I'm going to put them in B tier. Because I think when you have Tyreek Hill, I think with that offensive weaponry they have, the addition of Darren Waller today, that's the definition of best case scenario. You think about if that goes perfectly, we're talking about a 1,000-yard receiver at tight end. You know, trust me, this is dreaming. We're creating fantasies right now for Miami, but I think they weirdly have a chance. if they win like 5 games this year, please come to this video to the comments and threaten my life. Okay, the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to be real with you guys. You won a lot of games last year, but you have a different quarterback. Just out of respect for Aaron Jones, because I love him, and out of respect for Justin Jefferson, because no one can cover him, I'm going to put them in B tier. If J.J. McCarthy is as good as you expect the top 10 quarterback to be, that's a contender. But that's such a big question mark. We can't put him in A tier. Got to keep him in B tier. I'm going to break my rule and put them near the front second, because I got so much faith in Joe Burrow, dude. I got so much faith in that boy. All right. The New England Patriots. We're going to put this team in C tier. They're a sneaky playoff threat this year. They have a pretty easy schedule. I think Drake may look good as a rookie. If we can expect him to, to get a little better this year, and you factor in the new head coach, Mike Vrabel is a guy who's had playoff success in the past, a guy who's gotten teams to the playoffs, a guy who has coached a team up to be the 1 seed. Yes, I know they didn't really do anything of note with that 1 seed, but he's a better coach than they were dealing with. And I have to think that gives them a shot to be a playoff team. The Saints. All right, what do we say about this team, guys? They're bums. They're starting either Spencer Rattler, who is a kid who very clearly needs some more time to develop until we can, write him off or anything. But he's not quite ready to lead a team to the promised land. And I don't have much faith in Tyler Shea. All right, the Giants, also D tier. I mean, look, Giants country, I know you're going to try to ride, but we're still dealing with that, like, depression you guys got going on after watching Saquon win the Super Bowl. And the Bowl just feels like a guy who's really on the hot seat. Not to say they couldn't win a playoff game, but I'd be pretty shocked. That team is in a bad spot. But hey, you got Malik Neighbors, you got Kayvon Thibodeau, you got Tyrone Tracy. There's some bright spots. But someone got to be in D tier with these other 2 teams. The Jets, put them in C tier. So hear me out. I don't think Justin Fields is very good. I understand all of the hope people have right now. I do think Aaron Glenn is a good coaching hire. And I think if they could try to use Breece Hall and, forgive me, Braylon Allen, if they could use those 2 in a similar way to how the Lions use Montgomery and Gibbs, I think the Jets offense could be kind of explosive. You got Garrett Wilson, who's a stud. You're hoping to get some more out of Malachi Corley this year. This is a team that, best case scenario, you win like 10 games, sneak into the playoffs. Don't expect it, but I think it's fair to keep them in C. S tier, the absolute best team in the NFL. They scare me shitless. Their D-line is unstoppable. Their O-line could block God himself. They have Saquon Barkley jumping backwards over people. Devontae Smith is your second best receiver, right? Because you got A.J. Brown on the other side. Dallas Goedert, pretty good at tight end. They got white boys catching pick sixes in the Super Bowl, right? And he might not even be the best rookie cornerback they drafted last year, because Quinion Mitchell is also a dog. Like, what do you say about the Eagles other than there should be an S+ tier? All right, here's the thing. The Eagles, best case scenario this season, they go undefeated. That's how I'm looking at it. If the Eagles, everything goes according to plan, you win all 17 regular season games, you win the 3 playoff games, and you go 20-0. Go fucking Birds is what I just said, apparently. The Steelers, this is the team that I live closest to. I have thoughts on Aaron Rodgers because I'm a Packers fan. Would I have liked to see the Packers at any point in the 37 years he played for us go out and make all these trades to try to win a Super Bowl? Yeah, I'd love to see it. Unfortunately for the Steelers, he is 106 years old, and he's suffered an Achilles tear in the past. So the best we can do for you is B tier. Ignore the alarm. I'm not editing it out. But yeah, we know what the deal is with the Steelers. If Aaron Rodgers can bring back some of that MVP magic, if Arthur Smith can work alongside him to construct a good offense, because that was an issue in New York last year, is there was nobody running that team that you could trust. The Steelers have Mike Tomlin, who has run a team for a pretty long time now without having a losing season. Like, this is a dream scenario for Aaron Rodgers. if you're a Steelers fan, you have no reason other than just to hope everything goes best. You guys try to extend TJ Watt. Hopefully he can stay healthy. And we know what the deal is. I'm going to put you above the Dolphins, even though I said I wasn't going to be doing that, simply because the Dolphins thing was kind of crazy and I regret doing it now. The Seahawks. You're taking a step down. C tier's tough, right? I'm going to move them up. That rule I said about not like adjusting the tiers, I was lying to every single one of you when I did that. So, the Seahawks in C tier, this is a team you could argue in B tier, but I'm not going to because I don't believe in Sam Darnold. Sorry, simply don't. Did he shred the Packers defense last year twice? Yeah, he did. It hurt to watch. But look, man, I don't think what he's going to in Seattle is quite the same as what he had in Minnesota because it's not just the receiving thing. The receiving cores are kind of close. Obviously, Jefferson's the best guy in this scenario. It's more so the coaching. McDonald's more of a defensive mind. He's coming from a situation in Minnesota with KOC where you have a coach that's going to get the best out of you as a quarterback. I think the Seahawks, even though they won 10 games last year, I mean, that's kind of their best case scenario this year is you win around 10 games, maybe get in the playoffs, maybe upset somebody. But I just don't envision that team as having a chance to win a Super Bowl. The San Francisco 49ers. Here's the thing, guys. You see the shirt. What those assholes over in Santa Clara have done to the Packers for the last 15 years or so is frankly rude and disrespectful, and I would like for them to stop it. Will they stop it? No. I'm just now noticing I just got shit in the background here. I didn't even think about the background. Don't worry about it. I'm going to try to stop swearing in the future. Today, though, not fucking happening. Regardless, the 49ers, you got to stick them in A tier because of Kyle Shanahan. Brock Purdy is a really good quarterback. They got Saleh back. And just, I've been through it, all right? I'm not going to sit here and try to talk down on the 49ers when I know what's waiting for me in January. Okay, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, another A-tier team. This is a team that lost a one-possession game in the playoffs last year to the Rising Commanders, right? That's when you talk about one-possession games in the playoffs, so many little things could alter that game and make it go the other way. I promise you, that was the one team in the NFC the Eagles did not want to see in the playoffs. Luckily, they didn't have to. That's also a team that was in the playoffs without Chris Godwin, who was their best receiver when he was on the field last year. You had the rookie last year receiver whose name is McMillan. McMillan came back to me. McMillan looked great for them. Baker Mayfield's looked great for them. Once again, reminding you why the Browns should be in D tier. I have no reason to believe the Buccaneers won't be an absolute force. I don't see it. They are gonna be good. They're gonna be scary. And if everything goes according to plan, they could have their third Super Bowl. The Tennessee Titans, going to put them in C tier. Roster-wise, I kind of think they're D tier, but Cam Ward to me, Cam Ward is going to be one of those guys. I'm telling you, Tennessee, be excited. No one's good enough to propel this current team to a Super Bowl or anything like that, but I wouldn't be absolutely shocked to see them in the playoffs. I wouldn't. It would be I should bet on it because that would pay out pretty well. But I just think that kid's going to change things for them. And then the A tier, got to respect the Commanders. I kind of wanted to put them down to B tier, but then I thought I have no justification for it. Jaden Daniels was arguably the best rookie quarterback the league has ever seen. That kid was just so insanely good last year for Washington that I have no reason to expect anything less than a playoff team that is going to be an absolute bitch to knock out. Unless you're the Eagles, because I don't fucking know. Howie Roseman, you know something the rest of us don't know about football, and I'm going to figure it out. That was too threatening for the end. The alarm going off again. Not editing that one again either. But if you happen to watch this video, thank you. If you don't watch this video, you're never going to see this, so fuck you. But everybody who had watched it, let me know what you think in the comments. Feel free to subscribe or not, or like, or not. But be a good person. I didn't steal that from anyone else on YouTube.